If you like what we do here at Full Fat Videos, and you'd like to ask us questions directly, suggest new video topics, or hear our thoughts on the latest pop culture info nuggets, you can follow us on Twitter at FullFatVideos. Oh, and be sure to check back here later this week for a little announcement regarding the boys. What is the Suicide Squad? What makes the Suicide Squad special? DC Fandome dropped a whole host of goodies on us over the weekend, and it was pretty magical. I haven't been this hyped to be a DC fan in quite some time.
Let this be a reminder to you all that this organization will not tolerate failure. Gentlemen, let's get down to business. Some of you I know, some of you I'm meeting for the first time.
And aside from showing us so many Batmen.
The Batman. Or is it just Batman?
It also gave us quite a lot of Suicide Squad material, and that's made me think about DC's not so merry band of not quite heroes, and why they've struggled to find the relevance Warner Brothers have wanted. Suicide Squad media rarely adheres to its central premise, because it's too eager to build a brand around staple characters akin to a more marketable team like the Justice League or the Avengers.
I'm a celebrity that will sell like hotcakes.
Suicide Squad as a brand is always in some way at odds with its premise, that these guys are on an all-or-nothing suicide mission. And if you're thinking, yeah, they're called the Suicide Squad, I don't think you're meant to take it literally. I kind of think you're supposed to take it a little bit literally. The very comic that started it all, the 1987 one I mean, saw death as a constant companion in an ever-changing team of evildoers. The Justice League are special because they're a team of solo heroes, A-list in their own right. The X-Men are special because of their status as teachers and healers, and because they face persecution and prejudice rather than hero worship and celebrity. The ever-looming threat of death was what made the Suicide Squad special. The idea that these guys are bad guys, and that they are entirely expendable is surely the most interesting thing about this DC team, no? The tension that can be mined from the fact that at any possible second your favourite member of the squad could get their head blown to bits. Look, I get you need to create a kind of A-team roster for any superhero group. Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman are unlikely to ever sit out on a Justice League lineup. Cap and Iron Man are the Avengers from a branding perspective. Even if Square Enix wants to make you believe Cap is dead in their Avengers game, there's no way we won't see one of the most profitable members of the team coming back from the dead. Companies need recurring characters to pop up from text to text so that they don't sit there sweating, worried consumers won't recognise the brand without their favourite hero smashing some robots. It's why nobody bothers doing anything original with Iron Man anymore, and we only ever get approximations to Downey's iteration of the character.
Was that a joke? Did Thor make a joke?
So I'm not expecting them to just drop Harley Quinn or Deadshot or Captain Boomerang, but you could at least disguise it a little bit better, right? Is the fun of this premise not being able to take a bunch of random DC supervillains across a multitude of properties and see them cross over in a narrative that dictates any of them could be killed in the most horrible ways possible? We're dealing with supervillains here. I'm not saying you can't humanise them and tell affecting stories, but you've got to take a step back and look at what you have. You can't lop off Green Lantern's head 5 minutes into a Justice League story, but you can do that to any of the members of the Suicide Squad. Back when Game of Thrones was good, you felt that any of the key players could get killed off, right? Wasn't that a great opportunity for tension? Imagine that same feeling in a superhero sandbox. In 2016's Suicide Squad, all the key players are... In 2016's Suicide Squad, all the key players are absolutely safe. No one in the movie dies or even really comes close to perishing, aside from Diablo, who does the classic self-sacrifice hero moment bullshit, so that doesn't count, and Slipknot.
Man who can climb anything.
Now, Slipknot does get dropped unceremoniously in the way that I'm suggesting, but the problem here is obvious. He sticks out like a sore thumb amongst all the other members. You've got a load of B-squadders, and then there's one Z-lister?
Man who can climb anything.
And his power is that he can climb anything.
Man who can climb anything.
Yeah, two guesses as to who's getting Thanos snapped during the first 5 minutes of the mission.
The man who can climb anything.
Slipknot was the butt of the joke, and with good reason. There was no need for the man who could climb anything other than to die, and we all knew it months before the picture even released. So what was the point? Wouldn't it have been way more shocking if someone who we actually cared about died in the first 5 minutes. The movie spends so little time on Slipknot and gets his death over with like a note to tick off a checklist, almost as if it doesn't really care an awful lot about delving into this unique premise and just wants to get on with it. Let's get back to the moneymakers! Yay! Harley Quinn! Yay! Deadshot! Everyone loves you! Hey! We know that director David Ayer isn't really all that happy with any of the available cuts of the movie, so maybe his version did do more. We'll probably never know, so in the meantime it's best to watch some fantastic movies David Ayer wrote or directed like Training Day or End of Watch. I would also like to thank Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Surfshark helps protect you and your data by securely connecting you to the internet, hiding your IP address, and protects your data by sending it through an encrypted tunnel. In addition to keeping your private information private, Surfshark allows you to browse the internet without ads, trackers and malware, and phishing attempts. So if you've ever accidentally clicked on a link that infected your computer and made your information vulnerable, you're not alone, and Surfshark is here to help. If you want to better protect yourself, right now Surfshark is hooking up my subscribers with an amazing deal. If you click on my link in the description and enter the promo code FFV, you'll get 85% off and an extra 3 months for free. But that's not all. Surfshark also allows you to unlock blocked content not available in your area, such as content on Netflix. There are a ton of great shows not available in the UK, but with Surfshark you can set your country to one of many countries in the world to make them available to you. I wouldn't be able to watch The Legend of Korra on Netflix right now without the help of Surfshark, so it's been pretty fantastic. If you're still on the fence, they're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee, so don't hesitate to try it out yourself by clicking on my link below to save 85% and get 3 months free. Do you remember the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2? You spend the entire game finding recruits, forming bonds with your crew members, upgrading your tech, all in service of this one epic mission. It's a mission where all the odds are stacked against Commander Shepard, i.e. you, and no one in your crew expects to survive this. The thing is, unless you played your best hand, unless you put the work in, this suicide mission can actually turn out to be a legitimate suicide mission. The stakes are real, and you can oh so easily end up with a bloodbath before you. The Rocksteady game looks like it will be a fun, probably cooperative experience, where you get to fight DC staples and generally have an all-round fun time. But it once again seems to miss the point. Who is shown in the Fandome trailer? Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark. All the staples. Now, more characters might be announced further down the line, but it's clear that these 4 are our most important players. Are any of them likely to die during this adventure? Probably not. And if so, it'll be at most like one of them in the 3rd act. It'll be like a big emotional moment, right? And why is Deadshot Iron Man? If you're doing a Suicide Squad game, why isn't that premise baked into the gameplay? Shouldn't permadeath play some sort of role? What if you had a bigger roster of Suicide Squadders, and you, the player, are more like the Amanda Waller figure? You're picking characters to play as, and sending them on missions that are tiered in difficulty, and sometimes you need to make tough decisions. I've got Harley Quinn left on my S-rank characters, great! But this mission is relatively tough. I don't want to waste her if I can help it, because the next set of levels are only going to get tougher. So for this mission I'm going to take Crazy Quilt, Condiment King and Polka Dot Man with her. These are lower level characters who will probably die on this mission, but I can't risk losing Harley Quinn, at least until I have enough experience points to unlock another S-rank character like Deadshot or King Shark. Once I lose these characters, they're done, and I'm going to have to keep coming up with interesting combinations to try and get to the end of the game and complete the story. This would actually force you to look at your roster of characters the same way the DC Universe does with the Suicide Squad. Expendable. You'd be forced into making tough decisions, plotting out where and when to strike to maximise the squad's potential and try to keep as many of them alive as possible. Naturally, you will fail across the course of the game, and if you don't put the time in, you can lose the untouchables. Harley Quinn could die really early on in your playthrough if you don't play your cards right, forcing you to come up with a completely new strategy. It doesn't really care about the suicide in Suicide Squad at all. God, I hope me saying suicide a lot in this video doesn't make it bad for advertising. In fact, you can look to the subtitle of the game for the real premise. Kill the Justice League. Yes, you can fight and presumably kill the Justice League by the end of the game. I'm not denying that's cool, and I hope they really run with that and give us an almost Elseworld style story wherein our leads actually truly kill some Leaguers. Otherwise that title is one huge misnomer. But Doesn't the mere fact that you're fighting the nigh unstoppable godlike superhero of the DC Universe mean that you should have expendable Suicide Squad members even more so? Take that same idea from earlier, picking different squad members to tool up and take on parts of the game with various degrees of difficulty. Imagine if you're burning through Suicide Squad members the same way you could lose half your squad in Mass Effect 2, and it's because you're plunging everything into trying to make a dent in Superman, which you can't, by the way. You're way too low a level to tackle him. You've got Polka Dot Man. He's like the most powerful boss in the game. It should feel like an impossible battle, no? God, if only I could unlock Mr. Freeze, Killer Croc, the Joker, Cheetah and Psycho, then I might stand a chance. Look, I love Rocksteady games, the Arkham series was god tier, let's make no bones about it, and I'm sure this game is going to be a blast. I'm sure it's going to be really, really fun. But you could make this game with any DC team, really. There's nothing about it that digs into what makes the idea of a Suicide Squad interesting. Gotham Knights looks really cool too, but if you swapped them around a little bit, had the Bat family trying to stop a mind-controlled league, whilst the squad was forced by Waller into cleaning up Gotham, what fundamentally changes there? And here we arrive at James Gunn's Suicide Squad. The Final Destination. The Wolverine, the Batman. God damn it, so many needless third titles. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Okay, so yeah, it's got all the staples. Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, Deadshot? Okay, fair enough. But you know what it's also got? Tons and tons of cannon fodder. Look at this roll call trailer. There's as many as 16 characters on display here. I think it's safe to assume that a fair few of them are going to get cut the in half. It would be weird if 16 characters in a single superhero team all made it to the end, right? Almost everyone is so far down the list of characters DC fans give a shit about that they probably had to feign excitement and pretend they knew who half of them were while sat with their peers watching Fandome. You can bet on the fact that one or several of these Z-listers is going to make it through to the end and turn out to actually be awesome, interesting characters, whilst others are going to be completely disposable and it will be just a sadistic thrill to watch them perish. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens to one of the more recognisable actors too. In fact, that's something I really hope that they do. No one is expecting Idris Elba to bite it like Slipknot in the first 5 minutes of the mission, are they? But what if he does? That would be genuinely shocking. The tagline, "Don't get too attached," enforces this premise, and I really, really hope that they do it. If anyone could, it would be James Gunn. At Fandome, Gunn stated that he views this movie as a spiritual sequel to Jon Ostrander's original comic book run from back in the day. What would Jon Ostrander be doing with these characters if it was 30 years after he first started? And so I think that it has the spirit and the lifeblood of the Ostrander books. The Ostrander run created the trope of killing off squatters well before their time, and rather than the group forming a bond across the course of their adventures, making them ultimately indistinguishable from a hero team, Ostrander's squatters were straight up dicks half the time. Boomerang got people killed, and sometimes the dynamic would reflect how a team of supervillains would be with each other if they were forced to intermingle. I hope the squatters in the movie have animosity here and there, small rivalries and microaggressions that come to a head with conflicts that risk to split them apart long before Waller even gets a chance to kill them. It's okay to forge bonds and seek their time in the sun, but not everyone will need a redemption arc. As a heads up, Weasel totally murders the Thinker in the comics, only for the telepath to get his posthumous revenge. So I wouldn't be surprised if that gets a nod in the movie. Don't make Harley Quinn, Boomerang, all those recognisable squad faces, don't make them safe. Otherwise they will befall the same fate as the safe, unkillable characters in the show where everyone was supposed to be killable. Daenerys, Jon Snow, Tyrion Lannister. Once we knew they were safe, they became so incredibly boring. The worst crime of all.
I think it's going to surprise people.
Let's bloody well hope so. And no, I'm not buying the gritty 70s war movie spiel either, but the cast's comments do seem telling.
As soon as you have some sense about what's about to happen next, James comes in.
It definitely points towards lots of on-screen death and chaos and surprises. So here's to hoping the Suicide Squad can finally find that perfect marriage between a brand identity that is marketable so that, the companies can make their money and then they'll be happy, and giving us a premise that is actually interesting, that actually cuts to the core of what a Suicide Squad should and could be. And maybe then we won't have to do these kind of like faux sequels where they just stick there on the title and it's really more of a reboot. We can just have a Suicide Squad thing and keep it going, and maybe the game will be good too. Thank you for watching another full fat video. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit the bell if you'd like to see more breakdowns of movies, TV and more. A big thank you to our full fat tier patrons, Dr. Chike, Jax Merrick and Mike Nandu. You the boys. Until next time, keep it full fat.